All right. Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing well. Let me get my computer set up, and then we will jump into today's live language learning Q&A. Give me 1 second. Last time went incredibly well. It went incredibly well. Lots of relevant questions about language learning in the chat. We covered a whole bunch of language learning topics. I felt really focused, and frankly, I feel focused today too. So I think today is going to be an excellent episode. Let me just open up one thing here, and then we can jump into today's Q&A. Okay. Okay, great. So let's start with a question here on Reddit to kick things off. And after that, we'll see who's joined the live stream. I'll take some questions from the chat. And I also would love to talk about today, pretty soon, we'll warm up with a couple of questions first off Reddit. But pretty soon, I will talk about why I don't count Duolingo as study time. So if you study a language with Duolingo, I don't count that as studying time. Even if it was 1 hour a day or 30 minutes a day or something, I personally don't count it. And today I will talk about why that is. But first, let's go into a question off of Reddit. Okay. I like question number 1. When did you feel you really got language learning? Was there a magic moment when everything suddenly clicked? Describe it. Yeah, I would say that there were some moments where everything clicked with language learning. Often, for me, those moments came when I was abroad. I'd be studying a language in another country, and I would get this moment where I wasn't struggling anymore. It would usually come rather suddenly. I'd be in the middle of something mundane with friends, drinking tea, eating dinner, who knows. And suddenly I would realize, while I'm talking, I would realize that, oh, I haven't struggled in this language for quite some time. And that's a real moment of success. It feels like, wow, I haven't struggled in like a week or 2 weeks. This is so cool. And you feel like you're just in the flow. So I've had many of these language click moments where everything seemed to be in, I just seemed to be in the zone. Hey, Luke, nice to see you in the chat. We're going to talk about the main topic of today's video in a moment, which is Duolingo. But first, we're just warming up with some questions off of Reddit or any questions that people in the live chat, in the live video want to put in the chat. Okay? So let's dive into another Reddit question. Oh, we got our very first spam comment today, everybody. Very first spam comment. I'm glad you like my lips. I gotta say, you're probably the first time I've gotten that compliment. So maybe we should go out on a date together. Let's go and date together. Puff Daddy's bodyguard. You want to go on a date? That sounds amazing, doesn't it? Apparently on a YouTube live yesterday. I was apparently live, guys, yesterday. Oh my goodness. This guy, Smart Man, said, oh my goodness, I was live yesterday. That's so crazy. I was on live. I didn't even know it. Maybe I was like sleep living. Who the heck knows? But apparently I was on live yesterday. Like, oh my goodness. And apparently I said that I identify as a female. Oh, what? Oh my God. The secret is out of the bag. It's out of the bag, everybody. Oh no. Yes, I dress up in a red dress at home and I walk around like, ooh, look at me. Yes. And then I speak in French. Oui, as I wear this red dress in the house. And then the next day it's a black dress. And sometimes I wear the gold and silver dress. Oh my God. It's so amazing. Yes. Love it. Absolutely. Put on lipstick, mascara, put on makeup, and like put in earrings in these ears that aren't even pierced. It really hurts to stab your ears. Have you stabbed your ears with earrings when you don't have your ears pierced? Oh my God. The blood. It's so worth it. It is so worth it to stab your ears with those earrings. Wow. Oh my God. Yes, absolutely. Anyway, let's dive into a language learning question here. So let's do. I had a lot of fun with that. Um, this is kind of a difficult question to answer, but I want to talk about it. What are your favorite untranslatable features from the language that you are learning? I'm going to keep reading this. When I say untranslatable, I don't mean literally can't be translated, because those things are pretty rare. I mean words, phrases, or features that express something that would be clunky or unnatural in your native language. So this individual has given some examples, which I think are relevant. He has a verb, which I don't know how to pronounce because I don't speak Vietnamese, but apparently it means to get muddled up, to brain fart, to make a simple, silly mistake that doesn't mean anything. So it's kind of difficult to capture that essence. I can't think of any like really specific, some really specific examples right now of like what of words or phrases in different languages, but I will say that different languages have a different feel. Like every language has a feeling, has a soul to it, and the feeling that one has when they're speaking a language and the feeling behind the energy you get from other people is often quite different. It's hard to put into words exactly. Maybe it has to do with culture. You know, I whenever I'm teaching, I actually don't teach private classes myself all that often anymore, but you know, when I have meetings with language learners, or I do live streams, or I answer questions on Reddit or things like that, one of the things that I notice is that language learners will ask, "Hey, why is it that in this language they word this phrase like this? Why do the words go in this order? Why are they saying it like that?" And often there isn't really a good answer. The answer is something like, "Well, it just sounds good in that language." And I think it's in those gray areas of, oh, it just sounds good in that language. It's those gray areas where you find the magic of things that don't translate perfectly. Oh, here's a really good example. In Gujarati, a language I speak, and also many other languages that have grammar cases, you can put words in any order. You can just put any word anywhere, anytime, basically. Yes, there are more standard ways to phrase things, of course, but there's a large degree of flexibility in your sentences, right? A lot of flexibility you can have as to where words go. Whereas in English, you can't do that. I can't say live stream I today. You have to say, no, that didn't work. Live stream I do. Live stream I doing am today. I can't say that. I have to say today I'm doing a live stream or something like that, right? You have to really put the words in the right order. And in a language like Gujarati, right, which is my heritage language, you can play with the feeling behind sentences by changing the word order. And that you can't do that very well in English. Like there's no way to actually do that. So if you translate that sentence, like if I said something like "Esu kare che," right, or like what which means like what's he doing or what's she doing? "Esu kare che." Or if I said "Su kare che," it's and you just move one word. It doesn't. I don't know. It just doesn't. In English it's the same thing, but it doesn't change the. It in English you can't translate it. It's just a Gujarati thing, right? So. Okay, we got a language learning question here. Can you speak Indian? No, I do not speak Indian, although I speak one Indian language. I do speak one Indian language. I speak Gujarati, so that's one that I speak. And I speak really, 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 really poorly in Hindi, but I don't really speak. I can just guess and hope to kind of sort of speak Hindi. Oh my god, I love this. It's a spam comment, but I have to address this one and answer it. This is the best. Apparently, Jesus wants to know if I can inspect his credit card. Yes, Jesus. Yes, Jesus. I want to inspect. I want to look at your credit card statement, Jesus. Where are you spending all your money? Jesus, why are you running up a debt? Why did you go to McDonald's 3 times just this week? What's going on? Actually, funny story about that. I used to run a window cleaning franchise, residential window cleaning, And there's one individual who was working for me, and there were some things that didn't make sense in his financials. We were looking at where the money, where that, how do I explain this? There's a franchisee who worked on my team, and we were looking at where that individual's money was going, because he couldn't pay all their bills. We're like, what the heck? And so we actually looked at where a lot of his money was going in his like financial statement and his budget, right? And this individual, I think there was one day where he'd been to like a fast food place like 6 times or something like that. I was like, did you go to Wendy's 6 times that one day? He's like, I can't believe it, but it looks like I did. Like, what? He couldn't even believe it, but he did. It was pretty crazy. Anyway, all right, let's take some questions here from the chat. What languages can I speak? Good question. So I personally speak English, which I'm speaking now. I speak French very well. I speak Spanish very well. I speak Mandarin quite well. I speak Gujarati quite well. And then I'm learning Ukrainian. So I have like a beginner Ukrainian level. Another question here about studying Spanish. I'm studying Spanish. I know words, but freeze up when talking to live people because they talk so fast. What do you recommend I do? I have a lot of recommendations here. So the very first thing is go on my YouTube channel. Approximately 3 or 4 videos ago, I talk about a 30-day speaking challenge. That definitely will help. I'm actually doing it right now for Ukrainian, and I am freezing up. I'll actually pull it up. Approximately 3 times less in Ukrainian. I'm 3 times more fluent today on day 27 than I was on day 1. That's pretty cool. So that's one thing I'd look at. I just posted about it a few days ago. The other thing about people who talk really fast, that's immediately an indication to me that you don't know very many words. So how do we learn more words, right? That's the question. Is it flashcards? Do you just like print off a bunch of words and memorize them? No, none of that. In order to learn more words, the number one thing that we want to be doing is reading and listening to content that is at your level. Okay, so we want to use. It sounds like you're a beginner, is what it sounds like to me, based on how you've worded that. So I'll give you. I actually have a resource bank. I'm going to pull it open right now, and I'll give you a couple of recommendations of some beginner level content to consume. Let me pull it open, and I'll just pick some stuff that I like. Resource bank, here it is. French, we want Spanish. All right, so for listening, for a beginner, I would probably recommend a really good one to start with is probably Spanish Playground, just on YouTube. Yeah, that's a really good one to start with. It's really slow, really beginner. They speak extremely clearly. Excellent place to start. When you're watching, turn the subtitles on, and I want you to actually look up words and phrases that you don't know. Okay? That's a really important piece of the equation. Now, the last thing I'll say on that question there is it's important to be patient. Let's say 2 things. 2 things. Number one, it's really important to be patient. You're not going to it will take some time before you stop freezing up, and before you find that native speakers are easy to understand. That does take a lot of time, especially in Spanish, because there are so many different accents. So you might have a really easy time with a Mexican person, but it'll be really difficult to understand a Chilean person, for example. So it does take time. That's first and foremost. How much time? Well, it depends on how often you're studying. If you're doing, let's say, 30 to 60 minutes of studying, specifically listening-based studying, if you're doing 30 to 60 minutes every day, I would imagine that within 1 year, you should 6 to 12 months, you should be able to understand people when they speak about basic day-to-day topics, and they talk at a moderate pace. I would say it'd be about 2 to 3 years before you can understand like really fast speech on like any topic, something like that. Okay, so this is going to be something that takes some time, but enjoy the process. Like, don't think, oh no, 3 years. No, like, let's have fun with it. And think about this, like anything that's really, to get good at something, it does take time, which is obviously common sense. You know, I have a personal trainer and he's obviously in very good shape. And he was telling me once that, you know, your muscles only grow so fast. I mean, yes, you can take testosterone and things like that, but he said your muscles only grow so fast. So when people ask him, like, what's his secret to having his, you know, the body he does, he's like, yeah, 10 years in the gym, going 4 days a week consistently and almost never missing. So he's been going 4 days a week, 5 days, I think he said 4 days a week, 4 days a week. He almost never misses a day. And he's been doing it for like 10 years. He's like, so that's why I look like I do. And that's why I'm in the shape that I'm in. You know, and yeah. And so if you want to be really, really good, it does often take some time. But you can do it and just have fun with it. And then it'll be something you'll actually look forward to doing. And it won't be a chore. Okay, so hopefully that helps you there. And I got some more questions here. What language can you speak? So can you speak some Spanish? Yeah, sure. I actually haven't spoken Spanish in a while, but we can do it. Why not? ¿Por qué no? No sé si ustedes hablan español o no, pero pues yo sí hablo español. ¿Qué les cuento? Pues no sé. Realmente no sé. Una cosa que les puedo contar es que ahora en español yo tengo un nivel bastante, digamos, avanzado. Pero lo que pasa es que en general, para mí, pues si yo estoy viviendo o si estoy viajando, por ejemplo, a México o en Colombia, o sea, un país donde se habla español, ¿no? Yo tengo la impresión que yo tengo un nivel, digamos, como nativo o casi nativo. Pero ya que hace mucho tiempo que que estoy aquí en Canadá y que aquí en Canadá hablo por la mayor parte, yo hablo como inglés todos los días, ¿no? Entonces ahora me siento más que, bueno, tengo un nivel, obviamente hablo español y no es difícil para mí, y puedo hablar y entender y pues, ¿no? Es muy fácil, pero realmente para mí es más ahora que tengo un nivel, pues, avanzado. Pero si estoy en un país donde se habla español, pues tengo la impresión que realmente soy casi nativo. Entonces, ya. So there's some Spanish for you. If you want me to speak any other languages, feel free to type them in the chat, and I'm happy to speak in them. I speak French, I speak Spanish, Mandarin, I speak Gujarati, I speak basic Ukrainian, not very good at Ukrainian, so that won't go very far, but we can do a little bit. What culture am I? So I am born and raised in Canada, but my family is Gujarati. All right, let's actually dive into the title of this video, which we haven't talked about yet. 18 minutes in, I still haven't talked about the title of the video, which is Duolingo. So Duolingo is an app that many people use to learn languages. And today, actually, I was asked by somebody why I don't count Duolingo as a form of language study. Like, why don't I count it? What I mean by that is, if someone's taking classes, I would say, oh yeah, that counts. Taking classes counts as studying a language. Most of the time, I count that as a way of studying. Or if you're using like Pimsleur to learn a language, I would generally count that as a form of studying. If you're doing language exchanges, I would generally count that as a form of studying. But when it comes to Duolingo, I generally don't count Duolingo as a form of study. There are exceptions to that, but if I don't know anything about you, and you just say I'm learning a language using Duolingo, I usually would not count that as studying. And I'll tell you why. It's a very simple reason, actually, and the reason is this: the success rate for Duolingo is very low. You see, I've talked to, I'm not exaggerating, thousands of language learners. And when you talk to thousands and thousands of language learners, you notice certain patterns. And a pattern that I notice is I notice patterns between people's level in a language and the resources they say they use. Almost always, there are exceptions, but almost always when someone says that they're learning with Duolingo, they're extreme beginners. They're like super, super beginners, even if they've been doing it for a number of years. Sometimes they'll be like an upper beginner, which is rare, but it does happen. But again, if they are at an upper beginner, they also will mention other resources that they use. They've taken classes, they use other apps, they do other things too. So the reason I don't count Duolingo as studying is that almost always when I talk to people who learn with it, it's not like they, it's not like they generally see a lot of progress. Whereas, Pimsleur, hit and miss. Some people, yeah, they use Pimsleur and they don't have much progress, but a lot of people, they use it and that is a way for them to get started. And they graduate, they what? Well, actually, even Pimsleur for that matter, if they never graduated from Pimsleur and they never moved on to something else, actually, I find that they often also are very beginner now that I think of that out loud. But Pimsleur does have a much more robust methodology on language learning, which from what I've seen. So there's that plus there. So that's generally why I don't count Duolingo as a form of studying, is just that the success rate of the app is very low. And I'm someone who, for the past 2 years, I've been someone who's thinking a lot about success rates for different language learning classes, different courses, different programs, and generally language learning apps, programs, etc. The success rate is remarkably low. It's remarkably low. It's not high at all. Success rate means how many people use the program or the app or the course and reach the level that they were hoping to reach by using that app, resource, or course. Okay? So how many people use an app, a course, or a resource, having an intention in mind for how fluent they want to become, and they reach that level. And unfortunately, the number is actually remarkably low. Most people just don't get whatever resource they use, they don't even get close to the level that they anticipated getting to. I qualify that as a low success rate for that resource. Okay. So anyway, that's why I don't count Duolingo as studying. Let's talk about the next question here. Where are you, Canada or Singapore? I am in Canada, although I've been to Singapore for a short trip. I have been there. So, all right, let's dig into Reddit and we can reply to another question. If you have a language learning question, feel free to ask. I'd rather answer from the chat, but hello, Coda, nice to see you. If you have a language learning question, how to best learn languages, how to learn to read, how to improve your accent, like type it in the chat. I'd be happy to answer. I will do one more question today. Okay, so I'll give you 10 seconds, 20 seconds to type a question in the chat. If not, I'll pick one off Reddit. One final question. Okay, I'll answer two because that's an easy one. Is it cold? No, it's warm. It's summer right now, so it's actually quite hot. Any language learning questions, I will answer in the chat. Okay, let's go into Tamarine. Let's go into the question. Oh my God, Conrad Tamarine. I don't know how to pronounce it. Anyway, this person says that it's literally a matter of motivation. You could learn from Duolingo. Absolutely. Oh, I agree with you. I agree 100%. You absolutely could learn from Duolingo. Like, yes, 100%, 1000%, you could learn from Duolingo. I agree with you. In fact, I'll tell you an interesting story. It's not Duolingo, but it's going to be, I'll tie it back. So I once signed up for an intensive course for Gujarati, so language, my heritage language. And they're private lessons, intensive course, 6 hours a day, 6 days a week, like super intensive, right? Now, the tutor that I ended up finding was not the best tutor, at least for me, and maybe for others too, but let's just say for me, not the best tutor. This tutor did not speak English to a very high level. I thought that she did. I was hoping for someone that did, so I can get certain complex words translated. The teaching style was wildly off from what I wanted. She didn't have a strong foundation in grammar, the Gujarati grammar, to explain it to me. She wanted me just to write lines initially, so it was really it was difficult, right? She even gave me the wrong I actually had to rewrite a significant percentage of my notes, because I found out that the vocabulary she gave me in class and the English equivalence of that vocabulary was wrong. I had a friend who really was bilingual, and he read my notes. He's like, "What is wrong with your notes? These are all wrong." So I had to rewrite a lot of my notes. Like, this was not an ideal learning environment, especially the icing on the top, the cherry on top rather, is that Gujarati there are very few resources to learn this language. You don't have options. There's no choices, right? Not really. So anyway, this is my learning environment. And I learned a lot from this experience of taking classes. Like, I learned a lot, okay? Like, a lot. It was a incredible experience for me, and I got much better at Gujarati, okay? Now, here's the thing. Here's a connection to Duolingo. The connection to Duolingo is, absolutely, you could use the app and learn. The question is, how good of a tool is it? And in reality, like my class in India, when I had my Gujarati class, I was cutting down a tree with a toothpick. Like, the goal, I didn't have a saw, I didn't even have a knife, I had a toothpick, and I was going like, tick, 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 tick. And yeah, eventually I cut down the tree, but boy, the tool was not a toothpick. I was cutting down a tree with like a steak knife or something. Like, yeah, it's going to do the trick eventually, but it's not ideal. So yes, you could make yourself fluent in Duolingo, but the number of people who do is remarkably low. Whereas if you look at other resources, like if you look at, for example, what's a good example of this? If you look, I actually have two examples, but one of them I don't want to use. I'll use this one. It's a good example, but it's not very relatable, but I'll still give it. If you look at the effectiveness of any intensive program, it's much higher. People who take intensive lessons, they do tend to reach the level they're looking for, as an example, right? So there are different levels of effectiveness for different types of language learning resources and methods, right? Back to Tamarin. It's pretty obvious, though, of course. Flat out, trying to speak a language will help. Still a matter of motivation. Yeah, motivation's a big piece of it. That's for sure. I'd agree. Actually, I actually made a video on motivation quite recently. And I'm going to open up my notes for it. I broke down what the ingredients of motivation are. Did I delete the... Oh, no, here it is. Yeah. So the ingredients for motivation, I think motivation is actually external, frankly. I don't think it's internal. I don't think it comes from like, oh, I'm motivated inside, therefore I'm going to do this. I don't think that's how it works for a lot of people. For some people, yes, but not for a lot. I think motivation comes inherently from the materials you use. I think from the materials you use. There are three ingredients. If you look at any language learning course or resource, there are three key ingredients that lead to a high amount of motivation, right? So number one is exciting goals. So that provides you direction and energy. So if the resource provides you with goals, that's going to be helpful. Expert instruction, that's really important. That gives you guidance and moral support. And then minimum requirements, that makes you be committed and have accountability. So I'll give you an example of this. A university or a college is a perfect example of a good trifecta of motivation. You have professors that are expert instructors that provide some guidance and support. Now, some of them are not very good, but in the ideal world, right? You've got at least some level of expert instruction. You've got the exciting goal of graduation and then going to find a job. And you have minimum requirements. You must you must pass your classes, otherwise you're kicked out, right? So there's some minimum requirements. Another thing here, it's actually a fourth thing, the fourth ingredient actually. It falls into expert instruction, but maybe not. It's just like you need some form of moral support, and that could come from your peers, it could come from the teacher, it could come from lots of places, but some form of moral support is very helpful. A bonus, which is the most powerful thing, but it's the hardest to fake, and it's necessity. If you need to learn, right, the necessity will really drive you. So when you look at some resources, they have exciting goals, expert instruction, minimum requirements, and moral support. They have those four things, right? Whereas some of them don't. So if you look at an app like Duolingo, it doesn't have all four. It has some of it. It might gives you some goals with streaks and badges, and so there's some of that. Doesn't give you the expert instructor. Definitely, in a way, it gives you minimum requirements in a way, because like you have to maintain your streak and stuff. So in a way, there's that. But it definitely misses out on the expert instruction side of things, right? And so that's why people that use the app, they get into streaks, right? Because the goals are there, minimum requirements are there, but the expert instruction is not, and therefore they don't. The progress doesn't happen, right? They don't get that kind of progress. In fact, they often are relatively motivated, but they're motivated to maintain their streak. They're motivated to hit their badges, but not there's a lack of real meaningful progress that's delivered through the app for the majority of people, right? Yeah. Whereas, for example, my university program, which is obviously a university program, is much more comprehensive than an app, but it's just to compare, right? The university, like you have to think about how serious is someone about learning a language. If they're just using Duolingo, or really any app for that matter, if you're just using an app, it is an indication that it's probably not that high of a priority for you. It's not that high on the list of priorities. And no matter what advice anyone gives you, because it's not a high priority, you're not going to be able to learn. Like, I can give a personal example. For me, for my fitness, I didn't see any progress really for, I don't know, like at least more than 5 years. I saw no progress. Now, I did do some workouts. I would do certain things, but it wasn't it wasn't a it wasn't a high priority for me. And until I made it a high priority for me, um, it didn't it just didn't stick. And for me, for priorities, right? There's a couple ways to look at priorities, I think. I think one way is to look at where you spend your money. That's one way to look at priorities. Where you spend your money shows you what you prioritize. Your mortgage and stuff is obviously more important than obviously your mortgage is more important, for example, than, picking up a language as a hobby. Obviously, so you spend more money on it. So that's one way to look at priorities. And the other way to look at it is time. Like, where does your time go? It's like time, money, maybe your focus, right? So yeah. All right. Let's wrap it up here. I'm actually gonna move over to my Facebook. So if you want to go watch our Facebook, yes, we're gonna do a Facebook Live here as well. So if you want to go watch on Facebook, go ahead. It's Azren the Language Nerd, and do some Q&A over there too. And yeah, let's wrap this up. See you guys. Bye bye. One second. Oh my God. There we go.